So in this property we have surface salts by the radiator, and we get brown staining in the corner of the wall and up towards the top. So there are two different things taking place here. Listen to the survey. So there is some brown staining, which normally indicates penetrating damp, i.e. from the outside rainwater penetrating through. This is a thermal imaging camera where blue is colder, but in the corner it will always be colder because you've got extra heat loss in the corner. This is the property, and it's on the corner, the side in the centre, that's where we got the damage or the dampness. If there's been some sort of insulation around here, it sounds a bit hollow. Not as dense as you would expect, but I could be wrong. So there's some dampness just on the side there, and then let's see what we can see here. Ah, yeah, so it's cracking underneath, and it's obviously it's more than one surface that has been put on. There's a big gap there. That's probably the worst of it. Yeah, makes sense. Looking from above, and a drip just came down. Probably won't do it now, but just out of there somewhere there was a drip. So well, it's actually below and above. Interesting. So you've got a lot of pipe work here that's embedded into the wall, and that is going to create a zone of heat loss, and that's exposed. Yeah, I mean, these explain why you're getting the zones of heat loss, but it's the high vapour that's the root cause that you need to deal with. So the fan isn't coming on when lights are switched on. I'll check out what might be causing that. We got some suspected damp down here. It's actually dry. It's going to be cold, but there is some ventilation. So what's happening is the render was probably cracked at one stage, and a coating has been put on top of it that is embedding the pipe, the downpipe, and not dealing with the crack inside. And in fact, in gaps you can still see that there's a crack there, and then the coating that went on top of that is further embedding the pipe. But I'll show you cracks that I've seen. The ideal solution is to remove the downpipe and fill any gaps and cracks, and then recoat it, and then put the downpipe back on. It's a relatively involved process. You can, but for an additional cost, obviously we don't do it, so we're completely independent. But you can insulate, you put EWI, external wall insulation, and then at that stage the pipes will come off anyway and be put back on. You would still need to fill the gaps, but then you just have scuffling ones up once, and there's a lot to be said for it. I think what you've got on the side down here is just standard condensation, and what you had in the kitchen beforehand was condensation before it was damp proofed.
Right.
Your bathroom extractor fans aren't working well. Your kitchen doesn't have an extractor fan that is externally ducted, it's just recycling vapour. And obviously, to some extent, like anyone else, you're drying clothes internally. Do you have a dehumidifier? You don't know.
No.
So essentially, you've got lots of vapour and none of it going out, and it will find its way to the coldest zone.
Okay.
So this zone up here, I think it's far more likely to be condensation than anything else. It's a cold zone. Not that this is the root cause is always the vapour, but you'll get heat loss because of different factors, and I think in this case it's partially because of the shelves up there just making it much colder.
Right, okay.
I'll show you an image of that. Penetrating damp is bringing the colour of the brick through with it and creating brown staining. Sometimes you get brown staining from timber, and I wonder whether around the windowsill there's a bit of timber that's left from before it was double glazed.
Okay.
When you don't have staining, it's more likely to be caused by condensation. It's not always. There are plenty of exceptions to both rules, but that's just the general rule. But you can see here you've got calcium sulfate salts blistering underneath. I wanted to have a look around the back, but the kitchen door is locked, so we can have a look.
Yeah.
But the thing is with radiators is when they're not in use, they create a little bit of heat loss because there's a subfloor void, and the pipework of the radiators is going into the subfloor void, and the very small amount of water movement will draw heat from the radiator to the subfloor void and creating a zone of coldness and therefore increased risk of condensation.
Right.
But it's always the vapour that's the cause. These are, they're called types of thermal bridging, but they're an explanation why it's happening there as opposed to somewhere else. But if you don't deal with that, if you just deal with the insulation, you'll find it somewhere else. So you need to deal with the root cause, which is the ventilation, dehumidification.
Yeah.
So I'll give you lots of recommendations. If we look on your data loggers now, we can just have a look at, and I want you to keep the dew point below the outside temperature at all times. And you do that with ventilation and dehumidification.
Okay.
It's very simple. Just as a quick explanation, if it's raining outside, the relative humidity is 100%. And dew point is a measure of the temperature where condensation takes place. So you know that the dew point outside when it's raining is the outside temperature. So if you blow air out of the house to ventilate, all the air that's being replaced is coming from the outside. So it's at the outside's dew point. So if you have lots of ventilation and it's raining outside, you'll never come below the dew point. The only way you can do that is by using a dehumidifier.
Right.
It's also the most energy efficient form of vapour removal because all the energy that goes into a dehumidifier comes out as heat, plus you get 50% bonus from conversion through enthalpy from gas to liquid, releases water, releases heat, just like an air source heat pump or ground source heat pump. So it's, you're saving the planet. The other thing is that you're reducing the vapor in the air, and it will feel warmer for the same temperature at lower levels of relative humidity. So you can turn your thermostat down and save energy that way as well by using a dehumidifier. Risk of mold in this cupboard here, and the very simple solution is and it will cost you like £20 or something to do it, is to get wood fibre insulation from B&Q or similar. It's used for underlay under timber floors, and it just allows breathability, but at the same time as insulation, and it will just reduce your risk of mold dramatically.
So just
have the wall.
Just adhere it to the wall,
Yeah.
stick it to the walls.
Okay.
And that's true for cupboards as well. So in summary, there are two issues. It's quite a common problem. We have penetrating damp and we've got excess vapour, and obviously it's been made worse by damp proofing treatment. So the kitchen doesn't have an externally ducted extractor fan. The bathroom fan is not working on the middle floor, and the top floor, I don't think it's been ducted outside at all. I think there's a risk of getting condensation into the loft void, and that could cause all sorts of problems. It would be wise to speak to your builders about where the ducting went, or have a look at the architect's drawings, because I don't think it's going out. But it is possible that it's going somewhere that I just can't see. So you've got penetrating damp is in the corner from cracks in the render, which has been painted over with some sort of cover, and there's still some cracks through the covering, but also between the downpipe and the render, and it will mean chipping away. So that there is a case for putting on external wall insulation. It's relatively expensive, but will be worth it. It may be worth waiting for grants to come. Really, the best thing to do is to remove the downpipe and fill the gaps and any other cracks around. And then obviously with your internal vapour, reduce the dew point so that it's never greater than the outside temperature. That way you won't get condensation and mould. Thank you for the survey.